Okay, so today we're gonna fresh crack the Aberfeldy 12-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. If the cat allows us to, we will. This is from the Aberfeldy distillery. I'm sure that's a big surprise, but this is a Bacardi product. This is also a component in Dewar's. So if you're a fan of Dewar's blended Scotch, a good amount of Dewar's comes from the Aberfeldy distillery, which is of course another Bacardi product here. So this is 40% alcohol or 80 proof. I'm sure it's chill filtered and color added. Oh, I dropped it, Adriana. I'm sure it's chill filtered and color added. I'm sure of it. There it is. And this is 12 years in refill and rechar, ex-bourbon barrels, hogsheads, and sherry butts probably. Or it could be recharred sherry hogsheads. I don't know. But there's a refill and recharge sherry cask involved of some kind in the blend here. It doesn't really specifically say if it's butts, but it's probably sherry butts, but it could be sherry hogsheads. You are just getting right in the way because you want all the attention. That being said, they call this the Golden Dram, Aberfeldy, the Golden Dram, because the water source they use does run across, in fact, a gold deposit where old-timey lads used to go pan for gold, but they don't really do that anymore. But there is still traces of gold in the water, so the water that's used to cut and dilute the whiskey does have traces of gold minerals in it, so it is literally gold, the Golden Dram. Drinking a little bit of gold here. But again, aside from that, we have the 16, which is like sherry finished, and we also have the 21, which is a blend with some first fill casks. That's kind of on deck, and we'll see if we can get to them all and see what we think about the core range. Although supposedly I just read that there is an 18-year-old. There's an Aberfeldy 18 that is, I'm not sure if it's red wine finished or red wine matured, but either one of those sounds about what I'm about. So I didn't really see it for sale anywhere, but probably it's for sale somewhere, or will appear at some time. Maybe it's more limited. You cannot have this. No, you cannot have that. It's going to go in my pocket where you can't choke on it. But Dad, I would never eat plastic and ribbon and choke on it. Really? You would never, eh? And barf it up on the carpet? No, you would never do that. And now this says limited bottling 2905. There's no way that means anything, right? Again, we have the 21-year-old, and the bottle number, the printed bottle number in that is like over 149,000. So there's no way the batch is this small. 2905. Yeah, that probably doesn't mean anything. All right, you. I'm gonna pour this. Are you gonna sit over there? Okay, you're gonna sit over there. Gonna get some fur in my Golden Dram. Good pop, good chonker cork. All the good things. Cleanse seems okay. Bottle pours nicely. It's not fucking awkward like this one. Now, this is a Highland Scotch. We haven't done too many straight Highland Scotches, but one of the ones you can think of and remember is the Glenmorangie. That's a straight, typical ex-bourbon Highland Scotch. There's some sherry in this one, so it won't be exactly like that, but Again, those Highland Scotches, you get some floral aspects in them sometimes. Sometimes they're a little bit citrusy, but also you get some of those fruity elements. But floral and citrus, I wouldn't be surprised if we found some of that. I'm trying to get this in the vertical picture a little better, but it might be as good as it gets. Man, I feel like I've already banned someone with that name today. Sheesh. Alright, so here's the coloration here of our 12-year-old Highland Scotch. Again, these are supposedly only refill and rechar sherry and bourbon, which means that they're not even first fill. But I'm assuming this has got some E150 in it. That would be my assumption, that there's some amount of color added to this. It's probably chill filtered too. Because used casks for 12 years, I don't know. That seems a little bit dark. Man, boom. If you were going to say citrus, citrus is bang on the nose for this one. That's the first prominent note for me is citrus. Like citrus and honey. You get those fruits peeking in. Citrus and honey and like orchard fruit. Oh, there's some intense orchard fruits on this actually. Huh. For 80 proof, this is not wanting on the aroma. Man, I just got really hit right in the face with some kind of pear or something like that. Man, it's like fruit basket with fresh pears and fresh apples and fresh oranges. But there's just a slight amount of honey to it. It's not super like malty though, which is actually kind of surprising, right? So we're thinking about maybe younger, mostly bourbon barrel Highland Scotch. I'm not really getting that malt hit. It's not like, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just interesting because a lot of times you get some of that malt or that grain character really commonly in mostly bourbon matured whiskeys that aren't that old, especially in something like refill, which again, you know, is not that active really. I actually kind of like this. I'm sure this palate's going to disappoint me, but right now, this reminds me of the Glenmoe. It reminds me of the Glenmoe 10 a little bit. It's kind of like a little deeper on the fruit flavors, and I think it might be based on like the sherry thing. It's not got... She's drinking my water. It's not got the vanilla kind of vibes that are on the Glenmoe. Thanks, Kat. Is that good? I was going to use that, but it can be yours. I stopped bringing you one because I would bring you one and then you wouldn't drink out of it. It's okay. You can have that one. Wow. Such a regal. Yeah, now she just fucks right off. Adria. Oh, there's a perfumey note. Like, we're not going to hit floral so much as we're going to hit, like, perfume. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to be disappointed in this palette, I feel like, but this nose is nice. I like it. I'm getting pumped for the 21 right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, ooh, I got a 21 on deck here. It could be goated. Oh, I'm starting to hit some. I'm starting to hit some malt at the back. Not bad. The intensity is not the highest on like the malty character, but the fruitiness and like the perfume note is like slapping a little bit. All right. Aberfeldy 12-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey on the palate. Cheers. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I expected. The vibe I'm getting off this though is less Glenmorangie and more Glenfiddich 12. And I think Glenfiddich 12 is the same casking, except maybe there's first fill involved in Glenfiddich 12. I don't know, but actually quite a bit similar on the palate to Glenfiddich 12. It's a bit fruity and a bit malty. Finish nothing to write home about. Get a little bit of chocolate. That's about it. Like an unsweetened chocolate. Not terribly long. I'm not going to drink this. I'll be right back. Oh! I just accidentally kicked a bottle of 1792. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's hitting kind of like Glenfiddich 12. And we might, if we get time in a minute, I might pour some Glenfiddich 12 and just see what I feel like it head to head. That honey's coming in now. The one thing that's on this that I don't think I got, especially on the nose of the Glenfiddich 12, is like the perfumey character. There's, oh, that was kind of a nice pear, soft pear. Mr. Cap, how's it going? Yeah, there's like a perfume note on this that's a little different. But the palette is remarkably similar, I think, to Glenfiddich 12. Yeah, like a sweetness, like a honey sweetness, a very slight fruitiness, a little bit of spiciness grows in the back palate. You swallow, get like very mild spice note, a little bit of like unsweetened dark chocolate. Finish not terribly long. I definitely feel like this has got some interesting aroma characters, but the palate just drinks like Glenfiddich 12. So what I'm going to do, rather than sit here and assess this for a shit ton of time, I'm going to pour some Glenfiddich 12. And then we can kind of see how they're different on the palate. But this one knows I love the aroma. There's got some citrus, some honey, fresh cut fruits, some perfume notes in there. You get the malt eventually. A little bit interesting. So let me find the Glen 12 here. And again, I think it's just a case. It's like one of those things where like Whiskey Raccoon is back. Likeable sarcasm. Welcome back. Where like the aroma, like you're able to capture more. You have more sense of smell, more ability to detect a larger range of things with your nose than on the palate. And I think just maybe at 80 proof of 40% alcohol, this is a little bit watered down to get some of those more advanced notes on the palate. The palate is drinking kind of like almost standard. So, but the aroma I like. So we're going to pour some of this one, and we're going to do a little bit of head-to-head because this Glenfiddich 12, to me, this is what the palate of this Aberfeldy, it's what it tastes like to me. It tastes like this one. So it probably doesn't. And that's the interesting thing about fucking single malt scotch is, right? You taste something, you're like, huh, this kind of tastes like that one. So thankfully I have way too many bottles of scotch around. So we can just get that one out and see what really makes these two a little different. So just give me 1 second. Yeah, likable sarcasm. We hit Grandmaster today. We did it. We made it to Grandmaster. We're going up in the world. We're moving up in the raccoon world. Now, the aroma on this one, it's probably not going to be similar, I don't think, because the Glenfiddich 12, at least for me, has a note that I never really get too much on other scotches very overtly, which is the aroma of fresh baked bread, or like a yeasty note. For me, there's always been a fresh baked bread note on the Glenfiddich 12, which is not on this Aberfeldy at all. So we'll do a bit of a head-to-head situation here. And again, we know for sure this Glenfiddich is colored. Cask composition roughly the same. Age is roughly the same. ABV is the same. So this Glenfiddich is colored. Can you tell which one is which? Which one's the Glenfiddich? It's this one. So to me, that makes it pretty clear that this Aberfeldy is probably also colored. This one. I know sometimes the light plays a trick, so we'll just do this. We'll switch hands. This one's Glenfiddich. All right, so yeah, I do like the aroma on this Aberfeldy. It's more citrus, more perfume. I feel like this Glenfiddich is going to be maltier. That would be my guess. It's definitely softer. But the malt doesn't pop like I thought it would. Or at least not right away. You're back! Welcome back, Cat. You are gonna taint my beverages. That's interesting. I don't actually get that bread popping out right off the nose. But when I compare them, it's pretty clear that the Aberfeldy is more citrus. It's a bit stronger on the orchard fruit notes, too. And the Glenfiddich has more of like a softer, non-honey sweetness. Like, I don't know if you want to call that barley sugar, or like marshmallow. Kind of feels like marshmallow, but that just doesn't sound right. We watch Brewster? Who's Brewster? You talking about Bruzel? Brewy. Bruzy. Yeah, so the Aberfeldy more citrus. The Glenfiddich is more like soft sweetness, hard to describe. Sweeter but softer. What are you doing? She's rubbing her face over all the tubes. Give the cat a swing. Usually when I look for nose notes from the cat, they just recoil. That's typically what happens. Can you nose this for me? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, by comparison, how about this one? Yeah, she's not interested at all. I think they just immediately detect alcohol and they're like, that's poison, and just fuck off. Did you mute me, cat? Sometimes when she walks up here, she touches the fucking top of the XLR and it mutes me. You bugger. Cat nukes me. Yeah. Yeah, all I was saying, though, is like there's like on the palate, there's a soft fruitiness, a soft sweetness, a little bit of malty character. You get some like bitter dark chocolate, mild amount of oak on the finish. Pretty short finish. Overall, this Aberfeldy, it's got quite a pleasant nose. There's a good amount of notes on the nose. You get some nice perfume aromas, citrus and honey, a little bit of malt. And it's kind of more interesting on the nose. The palate, again, suffers a little bit. Bruzel, yeah, I watch Bruzel from time to time. He's like mostly a bourbon guy. And I'm like, I'm mostly a Scotch guy, but I do bourbons too, and Canadian whiskey and rum and whatever. Like, if I just look down, I can point out like at least 3 or 4 bourbons that are on the floor right now. So I do watch Bruzel from time to time. He's a good creator for sure. My favorite part is of course, I think like most people, my favorite part is watching his like bourbon hunt videos because I just find that interesting, right? Because that world doesn't exist where I am. Where I am, it's all like very regulated government stores that all have the same shit, right? Whereas he can kind of like go to any kind of little kind of shop and never know what he finds, kind of like antiquing or something like that, right? So it's kind of cool like that. You get like a dopamine hit when you find something, even when it's not you. 2 to 4 bourbons and 1 bourbon, yeah. Yeah. Can't forget our Bah, bah, bah. Bourbon. Bourbon. Yeah, that's actually when we opened this yesterday, Bees Knees. I don't know if you're here, but one thing I figured out, okay, I scoured this bottle, okay, because there's certain rules, right? I'm always here. There's certain rules that govern these, right? Nowhere on this bottle does it say whiskey. Nowhere. So it might not be whiskey. I assume it's whiskey, but when they this here right under it says Tabercorn Bourbon right here, where my finger's pointing, it says mash number 2 grain spirit aged back to back in new charred oak barrels. It just says grain spirit aged in new charred oak barrels. Nowhere on the bottle does it say whiskey. So I don't know what this is really. I think it's whiskey, but I think there's only one thing for sure, and it's that it's bourbon. It's bourbon. And part of the thing that I realize is because Ben and I were looking at the website, the Bridgeland Distillery website, and they had all kinds of different things on there, like limoncello and gin and grappa, but everything they had on there wasn't named quite right. Like it wasn't called grappa, it was called grappolo or something like that. And it wasn't called brandy, it was called like, it wasn't called eau de vie, it was called like eau de vin. So, eh, I don't know what this is for sure, but I know it's bourbon. Nowhere does it say whiskey on the bottle. So the fruit on the Glenfiddich is hitting more like pear. Where this is hitting like more like citrus. Actually a little bit of hay note now. And the Glenfiddich's hitting more like pear, like fresh pear. All right, so Glenfiddich 12 on the palate. By comparison, pretty similar actually. Pretty similar on the Glenfiddich 12 palate. Less fruity. Aberfeldy got a little bit of fruitiness in there. And Glenfiddich's got more of that sweetness. It's more of that like creme brulee kind of sweetness. Bigger like bit of chocolate hit on the Aberfeldy. Less so on the Glenfiddich. A little bit spicier on the Aberfeldy. Less so on the Glenfiddich. Glenfiddich is kind of like more malts, more sugar. And the Aberfeldy's like more citrus on the nose, more fruits on the palate, a little bit spicier, we'll say, in the back palate and maybe in the finish, but remarkably similar. These bottles are actually remarkably similar. I wonder. I need to get a set of marked Glens. Because what I want to do right now is I want to scramble these and try to guess which one's which. But I'm not going to know which is which after I scramble them. That's the problem. So I won't know if I'm right. I think it's pretty clear on the aroma that this one's Glenfiddich 12 and this one is Aberfeldy. That wouldn't be hard to distinguish. But the palates are very similar. Yeah, I think the 12, the Aberfeldy, I was about to say the 12, but they're both 12. The Aberfeldy is just a little spicier, a little bit oakier, more citrus, less sweet. And some of that sweetness could be attributed to the fact that, like, if these are not terribly active barrels and they're not terribly old, Glenfiddich does have that direct fired still, that little bit of like burnt sweetness associated with the distillate, right? So that could be what we're talking about when we think about soft sweetness. When it's such like a low and hard to detect, um, like taste, right? It's definitely low in on the list of notes that you would get. Man, they're really close. Part of the thing though is they're sort of really close in part because they're not that high alcohol, so they're not that expressive on the palate. Again, the Glenfiddich I think is still like more malty and more sweet on the palate, and the Aberfeldy is like more fruity, more spicy on the palate. And both of their finishes are like not terribly remarkable. So it's interesting. Technically, the Glenfiddich 12 is a Speyside, and this Aberfeldy is considered a Highland. And you know, they're similar. It's technically Speyside. The Speyside is in the Highlands, but a lot of the Highlands whiskeys that I've had, you can kind of expect more of a citrusy character and more of a floral note. And this kind of Aberfeldy for me did have a perfume that I never got on a Glenfiddich. So I think that's like probably the main distinguishing characteristics is kind of that the Aberfeldy has some more citrus and perfume. I think Glenfiddich is not so much on those notes, kind of more on the malt fruit. But there's still a great fruit note, especially initially on the aroma. This Aberfeldy got a really great punch of fruit on the aroma. So I'm not disappointed with the aroma on this 12 at all. I think the aroma, frankly, on this 12 probably punches above its weight a little bit. But the palate's as expected. Smooth and approachable, mostly sweet. Not very expressive, not a very luscious finish. What you might expect from an entry level, if you will, lowest priced single malt offering from the distillery. So not bad. I guess kind of roughly what I expected. Maybe the nose overperformed my expectation, but the palate kind of like kind of was what I expect. So next in the series, not today, but next up, we're going to try this one here, the Aberfeldy 16. So we'll step up 4 more years. Now, there's a major difference, though, between the 16 and the 12, and that is that the entire thing is finished in a first fill deluxe sherry butt. So not only is there some first fill bourbon in the blend here, and my understanding is this 12 is only refill and rechar bourbon and maybe refill sherry in blends. This one instead is first fill, refill and rechar ex bourbon, finished 6 months in a first fill deluxe sherry butt. So look how dark that is, look how deep and rich that is. It's definitely not because it's colored with E150. Absolutely not. There's no way. It's probably colored. That being said, this should look darker and richer after being finished in a first fill sherry butt. So we'll see how we feel about this one in comparison to that one and maybe other similar sherry finished offerings. But of course, after we try this one, we still have also the 21-year-old back here to try as well. So we'll have the whole range, except there's an 18-year-old red wine cask, which is eluding me. It's around somewhere. So if we find it, maybe we'll get it. Just to be a completionist, though, we'll have every bottle, you know? All right. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for being here. Anyone who could hear the sound of my voice, find me on Discord. Whichever platform you're on, the profile should somewhere have a Discord link. Find me on Discord. We talk games. We talk whiskey. Of course, I'm available on TikTok, Kick, YouTube, and Twitch TV. Twitch TV is my home, so if you guys would not mind joining my other friends on Twitch TV, I would love you for it. But of course, all of our cut content is on YouTube, so I'm trying to post stuff to YouTube every day. Yeah, what we can do to YouTube, I'm going to do some shorts. We're going to do some shorts eventually, and I will post them to TikTok. So if you're on TikTok and you like whiskey-related content, we're definitely going to post some eventually to TikTok. It's just, man, I work overnight every day. I have a family that I try to see, so we'll get to it eventually. But if anything, just know that I appreciate you being here. Again, if you could hear the sound of my voice, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You and you. I appreciate you for being here. You guys have a great day. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we're doing probably Bourbon Infinity Bottle. If you're into that, we're going to probably edit the Bourbon Infinity Bottle. That's probably what's happening tomorrow. Or if I get ambitious, we might make a Scotch bottle. But I feel like that's probably not going to happen. I really need to make a smoky Scotch bottle. And I need to make like a non-peated Scotch bottle. It's coming eventually. Appreciate you, Nathan. Thanks for being here. Bees Knees, Cap, Nilo. I'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, roughly same things. Until next time. Peace. See you guys later.